Good morning. Today is Monday, October 26, 2020. There are certain challenges facing the Jewish people that are serious, significant, but they are predictable. They're not surprising, unfortunately. Anti-Semitism, assimilation. We need to come up with strategies, with responses, but it's not a surprise. There are other challenges that have come up over the last number of years, and these are challenges that, at the beginning of my career, I never would have imagined I would be facing such a challenge. A global pandemic is certainly one example. But another example that has been surprising to me, but it's something that I have and others have been dealing with over the last number of years, is Jewish young families, young couples, who may not be religiously observant, but they are strongly connected to Judaism. When they give birth to a baby boy, they are reconsidering bris milah, whether to give their son ritual circumcision, a bris. Now, this is part of a larger trend within society. You are, I'm sure, aware of efforts to legislate against or to ban ritual circumcision in Norway and in other places. And this is part of a wider trend in society. Now, as surprising as it is to hear Jewish parents considering not giving their child, their son, a bris, it's important to recognize that many well-meaning people, including Jews, are influenced by the trends of wider society, which are asking questions about circumcision. Is it in fact justified? This baby did not consent to this procedure. Is it possible that there may be some lasting trauma for the baby as it gets older as a result of a bris? There are a number of responses to this question, but I'd like to share with you an insight from Rabbi Nathan Lopez Cardozo. And his insight is that the premise on which these objections are based is a misunderstanding about what makes life meaningful. The mitzvah is in our parsha, the mitzvah bris milah. Hashem commands Avraham to perform bris milah on himself and his sons. The only way to live a meaningful life is to have some kind of supreme goal or mission in your life. You know, especially in the last 6-8 months, we've been discussing the priority of the mitzvah of being careful about danger to health or safety. Sakanas nefashos trumps everything, comes before everything. All the mitzvahs of the Torah are set aside. Because we've been saying this so often, we've been using a little bit of a shorthand. And that is, of course, that concern for safety and protecting our health comes before all other mitzvahs except for 3. There are 3 that do not get set aside. And that they are adultery, murder, and idolatry. If a person would be faced, and thank God we're not faced with such circumstances today, but if a person were to be faced with the challenge of preserving their life, but they would have to worship an idol, they would have to deny the existence of God, Judaism calls upon a person to be willing to sacrifice their life in order to stand up for God's existence, for serving one God. And the question that we need to ask ourselves, and the truth is everyone needs to ask themselves this question, even if different people will have different answers, what is it within your life that is worth dying for? For what would you be willing to sacrifice your life? And if you don't have an answer to that question, then that means that the entirety of the meaning of your life is having a good time, physical survival. But that's really not a way to live a life that has meaning. Bris Milah, ritual circumcision for Jewish people, is the sign of belonging to the Jewish nation. It means to be part of a nation that asks Jews to risk their very existence for the sake of a moral and religious mission. And okay, fine, very nice. But how can you commit a baby to a lifelong mission that baby may grow up not wishing to fulfill? Rabbi Lopez says we should be asking a different question. What right do we have to bring a child into the world without giving them a higher mission in life? Socrates said that life without thinking is not worth living. Judaism teaches that life without commitment is a life not lived. Every human being, Jews and non-Jews alike, every human being needs to teach their children a strong commitment to a meaningful purpose beyond the mere mundane, more than just receiving pleasure in this world. To deny our children this opportunity is to withhold from them real joy and the capability to withstand major challenges, as well as the chance to experience the highest, truest value of living in this world. Surely children will always have the opportunity to reject the teachings that they were given as children, even as babies. And they may replace what their parents and grandparents teach them with other values. They always have that right. But it is of invaluable importance that their parents at least make them aware of the fact that without a mission, life is not worth living. For Jews, Bris Milah, the promise to live life with a great mission as its guide, is God's seal imprinted on human flesh. And it is significant that it is a mark on our physical body, because our soul doesn't need it. Our soul is perfect. Our soul is pure, is purely spiritual. It is our physical body that engages with the temptations of this world. It is the physical body that is our instrument in being able to navigate the physicality of this world, that needs this constant companion, this constant reminder to live a life of nobility, to make a vow to serve God through life. Judaism wants the body to be transformed. The child, says Rabbi Lopez, from the very beginning of his life, is physically and symbolically reminded that living a life of higher meaning requires sacrifice, but that is also the source of happiness and the notion of mission. I've shared this before, and it is worth sharing again. I want to tell you a story of someone who really understood the meaning of the mitzvah of Bris Milah. A few years ago, I attended a bris, and the mother of the baby spoke. And I was so moved by what she said, I asked for and I received her permission to repeat her words. And this is what she said. All my life, I attended Jewish schools, observed mitzvos, attended shul, and acted like a Jew. And then I gave birth to our first son. Immediately I understood that my life had changed, that his protection was now my highest priority in life, that I would do anything in my power to protect him from harm or pain. A few days later, I had to hand him to a man, a stranger, who would make my son cry at his bris. Handing my son over was the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. And it was the single moment when I felt, like never before, what it means to be a Jew. To be willing to sacrifice for a sense of mission. To live our lives for a higher purpose. To be God's partner in improving and perfecting the world, as we discussed yesterday. That is the mitzvah of Bris Milah that is introduced in our parsha. My friends, I want to wish you a very good day, and I look forward to seeing all of you soon in person.